Hi, welcome to the Illustrator beginner tutorial. Today we're going to look at Illustrator and get a feel for how it works and just run through some basic drawing functions using shapes. So we've got Illustrator open at the moment. We're currently using CS6, which mirrors what's in the labs. And we're just going to make a new document in the same way as you would in Photoshop. You get a dialog box that asks you what you want to do, and it's got some kind of preset options to choose from. So the main choices that we have, and particularly for this course that you're doing, is the print option and the web option, but you'll also see you have different options later for other devices. We're not too interested in those at the moment, we're just going to focus on print. The print option is primarily, it is a 4-color mode option. So the color mode for the print choice is CMYK, which is very different to the web option, which the color mode for that will be RGB. So in the web color mode, all colors that you see are made out of red, green and blue as a mix, whereas for print they're made out of cyan, magenta, yellow and black, and that's quite important to remember. In terms of the dimensions, the preset dimensions for print will be A4 and A1 and those sorts of things, whereas web will be screen dimensions like 600 by 800 pixels, which are a lot smaller. So we're going to opt for the print option. Just ignore all of this for a moment. Just choose A4, click OK, and you will have your page appear. So the good thing about this is this program is it's an Adobe program, which means that it's very similar in layout to all the other programs you're used to probably, and that gives us a good kind of feel for where things are. So in the Essentials setup, you'll have your tools on the left, all your menu options at the top. Each contextual element for a tool will appear here, and all your menus here, and then you'll have your palettes for various things on the right, just tucked away here. So we've got brushes and swatches and gradients and various other bits. So what we're going to do is just make some basic draw some basic shapes, and it works a bit differently to Photoshop. Although the tools look the same, you'll notice that they're very much drawing orientated, and so we can just click on a tool, let's say the rectangle tool, just click and drag a shape here, and in the same way as we do with Photoshop, we can select a colour from the colour picker, but you'll notice what happens when we select that colour. The shape just changes automatically. We don't have to use a paint bucket or anything. You'll also notice that the colour picker, there's a kind of cutout square just below it, which I'll select here, which at the moment is black. I'm just going to select blue from the picker, and that will change the outside area. So you'll see if I zoom in here, I've got a blue outline. So this is the outline colour and this is the fill colour. So we call outline strokes. So the stroke is blue. Now the things that we're making in Illustrator are a bit different to Photoshop. So the process for Photoshop is to import an image or a number of images and stack them up on layers and cut things out and paste things and edit the pixels, which is quite straightforward. With Illustrator, we're not really editing pixels, we're making shapes, so we're additively making something, but we're using what we call vectors. And the key difference here is you don't have to worry about the kind of science, but the key difference is that pixels don't really scale. If you make a small image in Photoshop much bigger, you get blurring and pixelation, which is a problem. But with Illustrator, it can convert the shapes that you make mathematically to be bigger and keep their kind of crispness, if you like. So they're vectors. they're just shapes that we make using Illustrator, which can be scaled. That's all you need to remember. As such, you'll find that stuff that's made in Illustrator has a very sort of flat graphic feel, whereas things made in Photoshop generally are image-based and so have colours and tones and shadows and look like photographs and that sort of thing. So we've made a shape here, which is not that exciting. We can make other shapes. So I'm just going to go into the shapes option, and you'll notice when I hold down that rectangle tool, fourth one down, I've got various options under here, but I've also got an arrow to the far right of that little palette, which allows me to, if I click it, get this little standalone palette. And no surprise, we can click a shape when we drag it out on the stage, that on the paper, sorry, that shape appears. Okay, so that's fairly straightforward. Now, if we want to, we can just go back and click on a shape and change the colour on the fly. So here I'm going to change the fill colour and have no stroke just by using this little diagonal line through the stroke. I can go back to the square and say, well, pink's not my favourite colour. Let's go for something else, and away we go. So quite quickly we can change colours and strokes and what have you all the way around, which is a little bit more fluid than what we can do in Photoshop. Now if we were to draw shapes and only be able to draw these or work with these, then we wouldn't get very far. So we need to find a way of editing the shapes and transforming them to fit whatever needs we have. So we can scale them if we want. So the selection tool, which is the black arrow, allows us to scale and squish things down. And if we hold near a corner, we can rotate. Okay, so I'm just going to make this smaller and rotate it a bit. Stretch this oval and put it there. But we can also go in and actually move the corners and what have you. So while this oval is selected, I'll just talk to you a little bit about anchor points. So we have these sort of white dots that you'll see at the edges of the circle. These are called anchor points. And connecting those on the curve, you'll see a blue line. That's what we call a path. So all lines in Illustrator are called paths. They're pivoted between anchor points, and we can change how those work. And when we select on a shape with the selection tool, so the black arrow, we get this kind of outline box with another set of points which allows us to resize it. But when we click on it with the white arrow, so I'll click on the paper first and then hover near an anchor point, you'll see it shows up enlarged. I can actually change the point at which that path is anchored from, so the position of it on the page. And while I'm doing this, you'll see that the shape changes, but also that I get these additional lines and points appear, which we call handles. Now I can change where the point goes from, but I can also change how the curve operates between these 2 points. So let's look at this one and this one. If I pull a handle, I can accentuate the curve as it rises, and if I pull this one, I can accentuate the curve as it goes across. So by using the white arrow, the direct selection, we've got possibilities for transforming shapes endlessly and making them exactly how we want. So if I look at this star, little trick, click on the paper first to deselect shapes, and then hover near a corner and you'll see that the anchor point shows up. It shows that you're on it. You can then click and drag it and reconfigure it. So that's kind of the key really. We're using primitive shapes and then we are reconfiguring them to make new things.